Hello everyone, this is HuskyStarcraft here. I'm back with some more StarCraft 2 action. This time it is going to be between you spawning down the bottom right side, but do not be fooled, it is actually Vile Illusion, a player who I have talked up quite a bit in the past, but I'm curious to see if he can live up to the hype that I have given him, as I have seen him at a lot of MLGs. He has performed surprisingly well, a lot of times being considered the underdog. Now, he hasn't won an MLG or anything like that, but he does do very well, taking down a lot of great players there. I'm sure you guys remember that time he played against Benishiwa and Manor Muled him, even though they are on the same team, which is pretty silly if you ask me. But up at the top right side, it is going to be Theghost as his opponent, and I do want to mention really quickly that Vile Illusion has been playing on the Korean server quite a bit. A lot of foreigners have been playing on the Korean server. I know that Stefano's played on there before, as well as I think Dark Shadow's doing really well on the Korean server right now. And so anytime there's a player who's going out of their way to play on the Korean server, you have to keep two things in mind. Number one, the Korean server is by far the most challenging server out there. I don't think anyone who follows StarCraft would say any differently. And number two, a lot of the players who are playing on the Korean server are not inside of Korea, so that means they're going to have to be dealing with lag issues. So I feel like it's trying to fight a war. I don't know if you guys have seen that Reddit post or Wikipedia post about the guy in World War II who was charging around with like a sword the entire time. I feel like it's fighting World War II with a sword and a bow and arrow. While someone has done it, it is definitely a challenge. I do believe that that guy actually survived World War II as well. What a total boss. So we shall see exactly how well Vile Illusion does. And I'm really curious to see how Theghost does as well. Not someone that I'm familiar with. I tried looking up their ranks. Vile Illusion has been in Grandmaster League for quite a while. He is in the top 200 at least. And Theghost, I looked up, I think it's only in Masters right now. And I'm not sure if in the past they have been in Grandmaster or not. It does look like Illusion going to go ahead and start to wall in here. Drops down the depot right there. If you're a Terran player wondering how to wall in at this location, well, take a look at this. It's two depots. The barracks placed perfectly, allows the add-on to be placed right there. And if I could change one thing in StarCraft 2, I think it would be the ability to put the add-ons either on the right or the left. That's one thing that I never quite understood as to why in StarCraft 2 you can't change which direction the add-ons go on. I think that that would be cool. I do feel bad for Terran players when they spawn in bad locations where their add-ons are exposed and thus they get sniped. Seems a little bit unfair to me, but that's just my opinion. Ooh, we do have Hallucination on the way from Theghost, and he is getting this before Warp Gate research. You can see that, yeah, he's not researched it yet, as these cannot be upgraded, and we also have Hallucination on the way. What is his plan for this? I personally feel like Hallucination is one of the most underrated spells in the entire game, and the reason I say that is because against a race like Protoss or Terran, there's not always necessarily going to be a detector around. Now, Zerg players, they tend to have the ability to make Overseers anywhere and anytime they want. But I don't know, using it against Terran especially, they're only going to spot it with, well, three things. A missile turret, which they're most likely not going to have versus Protoss. A scan, which they're not going to want to use versus Protoss unless they expect there's DTs. Or a Raven, which they're not going to have until the late-ish mid-game. So to be able to use this ability in the early game does seem awesome, although, oh, I think he can't. He messed it up there. Alright, I thought this was going to be an awesome game, but I think it was actually a complete misclick there, as he did indeed cancel it. He does decide to go ahead and throw down his expansion right away, and I don't know if this was in response to accidentally building Hallucination. I'm all talking about Hallucination, how great it's going to be versus a Terran player, and then he ends up not using it. But yeah, it does seem like a minor mistake there. Now, this doesn't hurt a Protoss as much as you might think, because the timing of this Warp Gate research is going to allow him to get an extra wave of units out of the gateways. And yeah, it does suck that he doesn't have that to fall back on should his opponent be rushing him right away, but it doesn't look like Illusion is going for a super early rush. He may even be expanding on the back of this, but he does have 4 Hellions here and a Marauder, which is an interesting choice. This does mean he is going to be semi-aggressive with this, because he got all of this before his own command center, and the Warp Gate research is now done. Look at those stalkers spawning at the perfect time, so he's going to go ahead and be able to upgrade these to the good old Warp Gates, and we'll be able to hold this off just fine. I don't think that Vile Illusion is going to be too aggressive with that Marauder or anything like that. No, he's already put him inside of the Marine Love Hut with the 2 Marines in there, as well as the 1 Marauder. The Hellions are going to be scouting around here. He wants to know, are there any pylons set up over here? Is there a super early third? This would be way too early for a Protoss to be expanding, but looking for hidden tech and all that is always a good choice. Looks like he's going to try and poke in there, but he has to be careful, because if he tried to do a run by one force field right here, all of a sudden your Hellions are trapped, and you are getting absolutely nothing out of it. Now, going for Hellions versus Protoss is a big risk, especially if you're going to be showing them off to the Protoss player, because now a drop is completely out of the question. I mean, you could still try it, but it's not going to take your opponent by surprise by any means, because he knows that you have the factory tech, that you have the Hellions out, and that you will most likely, once you follow it up with a starport, could potentially go for that Hellion drop. Now, we do see the Ghost going to be going for an additional gateway here. He's also adding on the Twilight Council, always a good choice versus Terran. That's going to unlock Blink, but more importantly, it's going to unlock Zealot Legs. And I would say potentially even more importantly than that is it does unlock multiple upgrades from your forges. You're going to be able to get that level 2 attack armor and shields should you need it. Although it doesn't look like the Ghost is going to be going for the double forge route. Instead, he's going to be going for an early Templar Archives. Now, this could be used for the very powerful Archon or, of course, Psystorm. But getting it off 2 base this early can be a bit of a risk versus Terran, because if they micro correctly, they can dodge your initial 1 to 2 storms. Then all of a sudden you're out of energy, and you're trying to face off against a pretty powerful Marine Marauder ball. But this game already is not a standard game at all. We have very early Zealot Legs, we have very early Templar Archives, and we have 4 Hellions out on the field from Vile Illusion. So I'm not really sure what to expect in this game moving forward. It could definitely go either way. The supplies are virtually identical. The expansion timings was good for the Protoss and not too bad for Vile Illusion, because this was obviously the build he wanted to go. Is now able to drop those mules at the Expo. Any Terran players out there, as soon as you get your natural heavily secured and you know you're not going to lose it to some sort of 2-base timing, then start dropping all your mules at your expansion. You want to mine out the expansion as quickly as possible, keep your main alive as long as possible, especially in PvT, because there's not as many ways for Protoss to harass your main base like there is, say, for Zerg, where they're going to be doing Zergling run-bys, where they're going to be doing Mutalisks, where they can do Nidus Worms and drops. Protoss, really the only way they have to get in your base is going to be with Blink, or with a Warp Prism, and you don't see Warp Prisms that much late or mid-game versus Terran. And Blink Stalkers are okay, it's just a bit of a risk because Marauders can slow them, so you don't see that as much as you would, say, versus Zerg if you're going as a Protoss player. So definitely something to keep in mind there, although one thing he's going to have to keep in mind is the fact that Marines die immediately to Psystorm, and look at him, able to use this location to take out this Geyser, and you got to remember that our Terran player wants to do this as quickly as he possibly can. Isn't able to get it, though, because with High Templar on the field, he knows that if he can delay the gas income by 1/4, that is a lot less High Templars. Although the Hellions have managed to slip in here, warping in Stalkers to try and prevent this. These Hellions have been waiting to do this all game, and with 4 Hellions, you can easily one-shot these probes. And even if the angle is correctly, you can get a lot of probes here. These Hellions doing a ridiculous amount of damage. He is definitely lining them up. Not going to be able to kill off any more probes here, I do believe. Nope, not able to finish off anymore. But how many probes was that? That is the worst feeling ever as Protoss, by the way. 12 kills by that little run-by, and the Ghost may be forced to attack here pretty soon. If nothing else, he needs to secure a 3rd base, get some center map control, and if Vile Illusion sees this coming, he does have his unit selected, so he does see that. He may just go straight for a drop, although he needs to watch out for feedback. There is no High Templar at that natural, though. Feedback would not kill off these medevacs as they don't have enough energy to be one-shot there, but the expansion is going to get taken out. The multitasking here by Vile Illusion, waiting for that push to be knocking at his front door. And he is going to be doing maybe unrecoverable damage here by taking out this expansion, although he doesn't have a whole lot back at home for defense. Needs to watch out. Now, these gateway units are not upgraded, but there is Psystorm's feedbacks are going to help out a lot, too. The Storm's ridiculous on that army, taking out the SCVs and the Marines, and those medevacs now have no energy to heal. Here comes a couple of Zealots warping in. Vile Illusion needs to make sure not to let these units get surrounded. He doesn't allow them to, and instead funnels them through the mineral line. Perfect positioning there, but at the same time, these High Templar have a lot of energy. A lot of storms could be thrown down, and the range on High Templar is small, but if you can land the storms right there, then you can do a lot of damage. You gotta remember, storms do not stack, so you need to try not to overlay them as much, but so far they've been pretty good. Storming his own High Templar there, needs to be careful. And you never want to go a base race versus a Terran if you can help it. Although he is losing his High Templar here as the Ghost, focusing on something else, needs to be careful here. He has managed to hold off in his main base for now. But more storms on the SCVs. Can he get one more storm? No, he decides that he needs to turn these into Archons. Can he kill off all these workers? The Archons could not come soon enough. 3 Archons on the way, and if he focuses down those SCVs, that would be huge. Taking a look at the health of the SCVs, you can see they're clumping up a little bit. They are dangerously low on HP. These Archons, I think, need to go for the workers, but they have split up just a little bit now. The Archons trying to escape. I think Violution will be able to clean this up. Archons, though, are still pretty good. They're just low on shields. Here comes more Zealots here, trying to chase around these Marauders to prevent them from escaping. And there is only one Archon left. He is microing as best he can. It's almost like a use map, setting map, trying to avoid all of these Archons and Zealots. He is losing a lot of workers here, though. 36 workers killed by the Terran, 55 killed by the Protoss, and the attack is still commencing here. Not enough energy on this High Templar. Might want to try and hide that High Templar, but I do believe that Violution will somehow hold on, although he's got so little. The battle is continuing here. More units reinforcing. Does storm. The Medevac's not able to kill him off, though. Feedback may have been a better option, but he has kept the supply dangerously low for the Terran. Look at this, 24 supply to 24 across the board, and this High Templar waiting for storm. How many SCVs are actually left on the field? 4 SCVs, 3 SCVs now to 14 probes. My mouse keeps freaking out. This game is so ridiculous, and it does look like the Ghost is going to have to retreat, but a valiant effort nonetheless. Does lose that High Templar, and this High Templar is like straining. He's trying to meditate. He wants to get more energy as quickly as he can to finish off. Well, there's no real SCVs anymore. Oh, this High Templar, do not reveal yourself. I hope he hides this High Templar, but no, he does reveal it in the mineral line, so it is going to get taken out by a couple of Marines there. They're going to be able to clean him up, no problem. But wow, I cannot believe what we just saw. The income should be favoring the Terran player because he does have those mules, but he's not mining any gas right now, simply put because he has no SCVs. He has 5 SCVs to 18 probes. Both of these players may have to try to, well, I don't know. I think that Violution, since he still has this expansion, he's going to be able to get back on his feet much more quickly than the Protoss, because the Protoss, he's just warping in High Templar at this point. If he decides to make an expansion, he's not going to have any money left to make any units, and if he makes any units, he can't make the expansion. Now, if he can deny this drop very cost-effectively, which he may be able to, he does have enough energy for storm. These units are in a perfect storming spot. Does he get it off? Yes, he does. And does feedback one of the Medevacs. That's what he needed to do to stay in this game. He could be trying to kill off this factory as well. There's really no reason that he needs to kill that off. Yeah, I think ignoring it is a better option. The Archon will begin regenerating that energy. He has somehow squeezed in the +1 attack for this army. The Medevac's dangerously low on HP. I think if he feedbacks all these Medevacs instead of going for the storms, he may be able to make this work. But he is, I mean, look at this. He has nothing that he needs to even chrono boost because he can't afford to make workers. He can't afford to research anything. So that one Marine, oh, you're going to get taken out right there. He does reveal to the Terran army, though, that there's an army headed this way, and Violution, I think, is wise to back up to his main base. And yeah, he decides to lift off these command centers as well. This is the smart choice because he can just play it defensively and start muling the main base, and then he'll have a lot of energy to mule his expansions as well. Does look like these supply depots will fall immediately. There's not all that many units here. There is 2 Ghosts, though. Can he EMP the High Templar? Can he get it off? Yes, he can. No energy left on those High Templar at all, and I think he may actually manage to win here. It's going to come down to this one Archon. Can the Archon actually do it? Does snipe the Ghost right there. That is a big victory for him, but with the Medevac's healing, oh, the Archon needs to get out there. Not able to do it. 2 more Archons have arrived. Can he continuing to reinforce this? He does manage to keep this pylon here, and a lot of units are warping in. Violution, the supplies are 39 to 40. Such a close game. Does he feedback the Medevacs? Does he turn it into an Archon? It is going to be a tough choice here, but he wants to kill these units as they're spawning. Does throw down the feedbacks. Still not enough. Look at how low on HP these Medevacs are, and I think with a little bit of micro, he can still keep this army alive. Will be able to surround these units. No, where the SCV is going. I thought they were going to attack, but this Archon's going to have a heyday taking out these SCVs. As you got to remember, they do additional damage versus biological. Can he manage to snipe these 2 Archons? You got to remember, the range of the Marine and Marauder is very potent in these small number situations. The Archon is indeed going to get taken out, but a Zealot running down here to start hacking away. The Archon kills almost all the SCVs once again, and the last shot from that Marauder takes out the Archon there. The supply is now 16 to 30. Our Protoss player needs to make sure not to surrender yet. As a Protoss player in this situation, you can feel far behind, but he's actually ahead in the supply. Ooh, lifting off the command stairs right here as the Protoss player decided to evacuate the base. I think attacking may have been a better option. The Marines may have to plug that hole right there, but our Protoss player has to remember that our Terran is going to be mined out completely while he has a little bit of resources left over. Taking a look at the units lost tab, it's managing to lose 11,000 resources apiece, even though the expansions have been taken out. Going for the depots here, this is something that, you know, it's going to help the units lost tab, but really isn't going to help him in the game. Storms on those units. They need to get out of there, and these medevacs need to use up all their energy so they don't get feedback. Continuing to warp in Zealots here. Stalkers may be a better bet at this point, but he wants to keep making the High Templar. He doesn't have enough energy for Storm quite yet. One of the High Templar is at 62 energy, though. And this game is ridiculous. At the main base, though, we do have a Hellion with 6 kills. He's even going to land the factory here to deny mining at that location. So that's going to be a good way for Violution to stay in this game. He's managed to even the score just a little bit, and he had to do this because you got to remember, our Terran player is getting mined out in his main base. These mules are going to finish off every single mineral patch in this main base. And another battle right here. Needs to watch out with these High Templar, though. He has to keep the High Templar alive. Violution is officially out of money. I think if our Protoss player backs out, he's going to be in great shape. Although I guess as great of shape as he can be, and does manage to snipe the Hellion there. That is going to be great for him, although the Archon means that there is not that many storms anymore. That may have been a mistake, and he's going to try and commit here, but the control from Violution so far so good. Does run into a choke point, though, and no, our Protoss player is going to commit to the choke point. Not the best idea. He does decide to try and run in there, though. He realizes, I have to get out of here. He can feed back one last time, but there's no energy left on those medevacs, so it looks like Illusion's going to be able to push out of the base here, as our Protoss player making one minor mistake means that he is not in great shape, but he is actually mining money while these mules have nothing to mine right now. Now, the main problem for our Protoss player is that if Illusion lands right here, he's going to drop a lot of mules. Look at this. He'll have enough energy for 1 mule, 2 mules, and almost 3 and 4 right there. So that is going to help his income a great deal. Even moving these mules down here just in time to get one last mineral trip and dropping down the 3 mules right there. That's going to help supplement his income. That's going to put him way ahead of the Protoss player. But with still mining 2 gas at a time, he can easily get the High Templar count, at least, trickle in those High Templar. Might even be able to hold off this army. He is going to go for it, though. I don't know if he's prepared for this. Could snipe these 2 medevacs very easily. Yeah, he does not have enough energy for this. And the Archon is going to get taken out. I believe that Illusion is somehow going to win this game. The Ghost ends up leaving the game. Such a close game there. And just because this game is so ridiculous, I want to go back to sometime in the mid-game and just see exactly what was going on here. So you can see right here, the High Templar moving out. They have a lot of energy for storms. The main drop right here at the natural is what forces that base race. And honestly, hiding an expansion at this point would have worked wonders for him. But the ridiculous storms right there, I do want to pause really quick. He did throw down 3 storms that were for the most part stacked on top of each other, which means he could have got slightly better surface area. Now, by no means does that mean the storms are bad. It just means they could have been slightly better and a lot more cost-effective for him. And he does start running down here. Decides to go straight for the main base. Could have killed off a couple SCVs at this location. And if the High Templars catch up here, they could have been storming right there. So the High Templar positioning wasn't ideal, but he still does have a lot of energy for these storms, and I think he gets a pretty good storm right here. And he does throw them down pretty well, once again stacking them just a tiny bit. Not the best use of energy. 1 EMP does land and does reduce the amount of energy on these High Templars, so that's when the first High Templar begins to fall. He is feedbacking on those medevacs over and over again, which is a good use of energy. And right here, this is unfortunate because these 3... I'm kind of curious, can we see where the Ghost is looking at? The Ghost is looking at this expansion. If we slow it down, I'm kind of curious to see exactly what he was watching. And then, yeah, he comes down here to look at these High Templar. He realizes, oh, they're getting attacked by that one Marauder. Does take them back and gets a decent storm there as well. And then I want to see just a couple of seconds, how much energy did those High Templar have when they morphed into Archons? If they're very low on energy, that's okay. Does lose the 1 High Templar there. That really sucks for him. And I think that he storms with the remaining High Templar right there. Yeah, so he was very low on energy, so turning those into Archons was a good choice, especially since he almost lost that High Templar right there. And the supplies do begin to favor the Terran player at this point, but the income is about even for these players, which is going to be good for the Protoss. And he needs to get a couple of shots on this Archon, like right here where these SCVs pass by this Archon. If he would have attacked those SCVs, could have taken out a big chunk of them, which would have been a lot less money for our Terran player. And yeah, at this point, he never killed off this expansion until just now, and that's where a lot of that additional income and supply was coming from. So just minor changes in the micro of the Protoss player would have made a big difference here. He does finally start killing off these SCVs. Oh, but he drags them off. He really needs to kill off those 5 SCVs there. And then this battle just continues for so long in the main base that I could just watch this all day. It's like watching 2 computers play as they're all microing completely differently. Individual units here back and forth. And the Zealot here hacking away at a couple SCVs. What a close game. Part of it was not killing these SCVs soon enough. Part of it was not killing the main SCV soon enough. I mean, he eventually does, but that's when the SCVs are fighting, not when they're transferring away. And just so close. That's got to be a devastating loss for a Protoss player, but Illusion able to hang on under pressure, able to stay in the game. He even did save his barracks right here, which is something a lot of players tend to forget, although at this point it might have been better just to let that one burn down, as it was difficult to produce off of all of these buildings. But great control there by Vile Illusion. What an awesome game by both of these players. And yeah, pretty fun stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.